Out there today, guys. He had a calf injury. He'll be out for a little bit. Nick Bosa had a maintenance day. Hurd had a maintenance day, and Maurice Hurst is day to day with a slight ankle. Go ahead.
What's your plan for Marcel Harris?
We've been working him at linebacker. He wasn't able to do anything in OTAs. He worked at linebacker a little bit last year, and unfortunately he didn't get to practice in OTAs. So he's had 3 days of it. We'll see how it goes. We know what he can do at safety, and we're just seeing what he can do there.
Kind of a tryout thing, just kind of figuring out where he fits best.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't put him there if we didn't believe he could do it, and we think he has a chance to be one of our linebackers that can make this team. We know he's done it before in the past as a safety. He's always been a great special teams player for us, so we think that possibly could be his better position, but we're trying to find out.
How did you feel like cadence went today?
I thought it went a lot better. Yeah, I mean, the D-line's teeing off on stuff as they always do. So if we aren't aggressive, switching our cadence up all the time, we're going to have some trouble with those guys. And, you know, you don't want to do a ton of cadence right away. But if you don't, with the way our D-line plays, you're in trouble. So I like our guys challenging themselves to do it a bunch, and I thought they did a much better job.
Well, I know it's hard to evaluate running backs before they get the pads on, but it looks like the rookies you brought in are showing some good speed out there and seem like they're getting a hold of things pretty well.
Yeah, I was excited with the little runs that they got in OTAs. We know the talent they have, but you just want to see how natural it is for them, and especially when there's not pads on, sometimes it's tough to go through their full speed and hit the right holes, but those guys have ran like vets. They haven't hesitated without pads. They've been running through there, and I'm excited to see them once we get more pads on and get them in games where people are tackling them.
When it comes to the vaccine, how do you balance a concern over a player not getting it and not pressuring too much?
I mean, we haven't pressured anyone. You know, I think it would have been a lot harder if we had a big group of guys not doing it. You know, I think that was more of our worry. And then, about a week up to camp, we got past at 85%. I know I think it's 5 or less. I think it's 5. But, those 5 we're not going to pressure. It would have been tough if a lot of our team didn't and we had to do things different. But with the small amount of guys doing it, and things I think are a lot tougher on them, but it doesn't affect the team that much. However, some of the stuff they got to go through is pretty frustrating. So I know they got to balance out how they feel about that and what they're going to have to go through this year playing football.
When you released Sanu last year, what was that conversation? Obviously, you have a relationship with him. What was that conversation? It was like, Muhammad is clearly not quite right, or,
Yeah, it was tough because of how much respect I have for Mo. And he wasn't at his best at that time. And we just had we had too many receivers that we liked. And we had Debo coming back from injury. We had Ayuk. There weren't other guys. We had some roster issues, I think, with a bunch of other guys getting hurt. And there were too many receivers that we couldn't give up on to keep Mo there. And with him not being the best that I was used to with him, I was honest with him, and he understood. And that's what's cool about Mo. Mo's a man. You can be honest with him. He doesn't take anything personally. He knows his business, and that's why it was so cool to see him. Watch him at Detroit at the end of the year, where I thought he got a chance because he wasn't in New England's camp. Came to ours, I think, week 1 or 2, and getting to play there a little bit. I think he got more into shape, and I thought he played at a much higher level at the end of the year at Detroit. And when he hit us up over the summer, telling us how good he was and how good a shape he was in, he's a guy we believe. He doesn't really usually tell you that just to tell you that, and it's been accurate so far.
Was it both mental and physical?
What's that?
Was it both mental and physical that you saw, like, that wasn't up to par?
I think he was mentally, because Mo doesn't really change with that. But, when he gets out on the football field, he's always going to be locked in and doing that stuff. But I think COVID had an effect on everyone. Everyone's, Mo's not a guy who's not going to work out or anything. He's always working out. But I think that became a lot bigger challenge for guys in COVID and doing it in their backyards and stuff like that. And then you don't get into training camp, and he's a guy who kind of needs a training camp. He likes to grind and do all that stuff. And just to hop in with us, his mental was there. But it's all about what you do before that. You can't catch up when you miss kind of an off season, and I think that's what he learned from that and was more than ready this year.
You mentioned a couple of times he reached out to you guys. Did he call you directly and say, hey, this is kind of where I'm at? How did that go down?
Yeah, I have a good relationship with Mo, so if it's usually he's just going to call me. and send me video of him in his backyard, whatever it is, to show me that he's in shape. But usually when he tells me, I can tell when he's confident and when he knows, hey, I might need a couple weeks. That's a big difference. But I'm just talking to him over the summer because I saw him last, so that does put you I saw him last year when we had to let him go, which puts some worry in it. But when a guy you know and a guy you respect calls you and you trust him, then you give him an opportunity. And he came in and he was everything he said.
The energy that comes from the corner when the defensive linemen are warming up with Kasarik and now Darryl Tapp is really palpable. How does that compare to other defensive line corners in your coaching career?
That's at the top. It's borderline crazy. They're walking a fine line, but that's what playing D-line in the NFL is. And that's why if you're going to challenge guys and make them work that hard like he does, and to get guys to really do it without eventually snapping on you, you got to have a lot of love for you guys, and you got to be completely invested in them. And I mean, that's what he does 24/7. I'm sure he has a little daughter. I think she's a year and a half old. I'm sure he's coaching her on D-line stuff, and his wife. So he lives and dies it, and it's every day. Nothing changes. If you try to talk to him during vacation, just be prepared. It won't be 5 minutes long. He won't stop until you tell him you got to go. And I think his guys love him for it because he is completely invested in those guys.
Jimmy, earlier this week when we spoke to him, sounded very thankful to have Rich Scangarello back. Is there something unique about the relationship that those two have? And is Scangarello maybe able to get something out of Jimmy that might be a little bit unique?
I think so. I think it was good that they had a relationship in the past. Rich was here when the first year and a half that we had Jimmy here, and they got to know each other very well. Rich probably only got to coach him in about 7 games because the second year Jimmy got hurt so fast. But I think he was very comfortable with him. Rich has been a lot of places, really understands the quarterback position well. He's been in a bunch of different schemes, and I look at Rich as more of a veteran, and I think Jimmy having him around and just a guy to talk to and bounce things off of. I mean, he said it, but I would have guessed it too. I think he makes him more comfortable.
Was it a pretty easy decision to bring him back when you saw he was available?
Yeah, once he was available, I didn't look into anyone else. We knew we were going to go that direction because he had been here, and I knew how Jimmy felt, and I knew how I felt.
I know you guys haven't had a chance to look at film for practice, and it's obviously crazy early, but Trey had a couple iffy throws today. Have you been able to get a sense of in the film room how critical he is of himself?
Oh, yeah. You don't have to get on him too much. I mean, when we don't have a good throw, he knows it as much as anyone. I just like that he keeps firing it. I mean, some are going to be good, some are going to be bad. But the more you get reps, the more you get your feet under you, the more you know where you're going, the more consistent that'll be. And, the 40 days Trey was away, the work he put in when we're not there, it's pretty cool because you know how you end at OTAs. They get away, and you're not sure how they're going to be when they come back. And he's been better coming back, and now it's our job to help him get better throughout training camp.
When you were watching the offense behind today, did you notice Sampson him a little bit more today? It seemed like he had a couple sacks more.
Yeah, I did. I thought our D-line was going today. I think it's been a real competitive camp. I think the defense probably got the best of the O today. But yeah, they're all tough to handle. But Sampson, he's done a real good job. He's in shape. He's explosive. He's strong. We're not surprised. We've played against him twice a year for I think the last 4 years. So he's been exactly what we hoped for.
How big of a disadvantage is the offensive line out without pads? How much will that kind of change?
It's a big disadvantage. I mean, I don't think it's as much in the run game, but it's a lot harder in the pass game. Just pass blocking guys when you can't really quick set them and get into guys, and they're all a lot slippier when they don't have their shoulder pads on. So I think pass game's the hardest.
A lot of players have talked about their mental health. Do you feel like that's kind of a result of it being more accepted, or is it just kind of what everybody went through last year? Seems like it's more evident, people talking about how they need to take care of their mental health.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole world's different than it was 20 years ago. I think our parents were more embarrassed to talk about it just because that's how everybody was, and I think our generation's a little bit more used to it, and I guarantee our kids' generation will be a lot more used to it. So I think that's normal with football and everywhere. But I do think everyone is aware that not everyone wasn't in a great spot last year, and some better, some weren't as bad as others. But going through COVID, not just for our team, but really every person I know relationship-wise. I think everyone had to go through that a little bit, and how making sure your mental health was right, whether it was with your family, whether it's in your business, or whether it's playing football. If your mind's not right, it's kind of hard to be a good friend, a good dad, or a good football player, or good at whatever you do.
Going back to evaluating the O-line and D-line, what in this early part of practice are you looking at Tom Compton and Daniel Briscoe?
Really just how I know where they're at in OTAs, and then what they've done in their 40 days away. I like to see if they've gotten better or worse, and those guys have been really preparing. I think Brunskill came in great last year. He was one of the few guys, I think, that he used to send us videos in his garage with people throwing bags at him and all this. He was very creative wherever he was. I think in South Dakota or something, coming up with stuff. And I thought that's why Tom struggled a little bit, though. Tom had a harder time coming into camp, and just going through the COVID and not being in as good a football shape as he could. And then training camp last year didn't allow us to get ready on just how quick it was. So I think that hurt Tom most of the year. Started to get right towards the end of the year before that concussion. But both of them, I think, have learned from that, and I think they both are come back a lot better than they were last year, and there's going to be some good competition there.
One more O-line question about the backup tackle situation. It seems like Jalen Moore has been at backup left tackles from the get-go. Is he showing you a little bit more than you might expect from a fifth rounder? And then follow that up on Sean Coleman, whether he's sort of being eased back in slowly because of his opt-out year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest thing for Sean, it was not only the opt-out year, but the year before he didn't really get to play either. He had a great OTAs, a great training camp, and I think he got hurt on, I think, like the first or second play in the first quarter of our first preseason game. So he's really had 2 years off. In OTAs, we didn't get to go against each other as much as we're used to, so he's still trying to get back to where he was at. And more like, we knew his feet, we knew he had the talent to move anywhere. And we saw that in OTAs, and with school going down, we got to see if he can do it at tackle. So we knew we were probably going to throw him at guard at first. School going down, we got to see what he can do at tackle, and we know it's been nice because we know he has the ability to do it. And now he's just got to get reps and see if he can own that spot.
What did you see from that ball boy that kind of looks like you?
He needs to work on his hands. That's his mom's genes. No. It was funny. I saw him trying to catch punts, and he wasn't within 20 yards of one. So I told him I'd give him $5 if he just touched one. And the last one, he ran through and touched it, and I think he almost broke his arm. But no, he's starting football next week, so trying to get him a little used to it.
Is that what position he wants to play?
He says receiver. We'll see. That's what I recommend.
Much in the past versus?
Yeah, he's been out a little in the past. He usually has a hat on. You don't notice him as much. He's really into his surfer cut now, so he wants everyone to see it. And keep trying to get him to wear a hat to cover up the sun, but he won't do it.
If you had to say, and I think you Jones have 3 quarterbacks, the fact that it looks like you might have 2 starter level, quarterbacks on the roster, does that change how you view that, or do you keep 2 or 3?
No, I mean, ideally for a roster standpoint, you want to have 2 and have 1 on practice squad just so it doesn't hurt your roster, but you never let go of quarterbacks who you think can help you. And I think we got 4 in here who can play. And I know how hard it is to keep 4, but you don't want to let good quarterbacks go just because you have too many. So that's something that it's going to be a tough deal because we got some guys who can play, so it won't be an easy decision. It's nice that they get some preseason games so we can see them out there, but it's also tough for those 2 guys because of how many reps Jimmy and Trey get. But I know we got 4 guys that I believe in, and probably as deep of a group as we've had.
Jimmy's had plenty of camps under his belt. How has he used his experience to help out Trey and give him not the first camp jitters vibe, I guess?
I think that's just the dynamic in the room and how people feel around each other. I mean, Jimmy, there's no different energy in that room or anything. Those guys get along great. So, it's when they say that there's no awkwardness, they mean that. And I think the best thing that a starting quarterback can do for a rookie isn't just sit there and be in his ear all day. It's just to do things the right way, and they get to watch you. And that's what I've been real impressed with Jimmy, because how prepared he came into OTAs, how prepared he came into training camp, and that's allowed him to look on things and do stuff the right way from day one. And that's the best thing he can do for Trey. The worst thing would be a guy who's had success in this league and a rookie is watching that guy and he's not on his stuff. You don't want guys to think that you can be successful in this league without working.
Do you have a time frame for when you would expect Nico's to participate in team drills?
I don't. I mean, we're taking really a block at a time. I mean, today, all is planned so far, but we haven't set a date where, hey, this is the day you start. We're doing the individual. I think every third day is a maintenance day, I think. But I'm going to count on Nick on that the most. I know Nick. We don't have to make a lot of decisions for him when it comes to football. He's thinking about his body and what's right 24/7. I think it's tough when you got younger guys that you need to develop a lot and also protect. But as I've joked with Nick, I feel like he's been developed as a pass rusher since he was like 3, because he's been focused on it. So it's a little bit easier with him. You look back to his rookie year, and I think he got a high ankle sprain, I think before our first game. I don't think he played at all in the first preseason. We weren't sure if he was going to be ready for Tampa. And I think he'll get more time this year, because I think eventually we'll get into team drills and stuff, but we're taking that pretty much day by day.
Do you sense a different energy now that these fans are back and COVID protocols are a little less strict than last year?
Yeah, a huge difference. I think everyone's so eager, not just here, but I think everywhere, to get back to normal. It's not totally there, but you can tell. I know our building's ready for it. I know our players are ready for it, and you can tell the fans are ready for it. And we all got to be smart and do our part. But that energy is getting back to our normal life and getting back to a real football season. Which that by having fans in the stands we were excited about that all year. And now that we're here and we can see fans at practice, it's become more a reality. All right, guys. Thanks.